The vote for war, the grand hall of the Galactic Council, was alive with sound. Thousands of voices spoke at once, layered in pride, arrogance, and laughter. Alien leaders from 100 worlds filled the chamber, their banners glowing above their seats. Today was not about debate. Today was about a single decision. On the tall center platform, the speaker raised his hand and the noise fell silent. His long silver crest shimmered under the lights as he addressed the gathering. "Today we decide," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber, "whether the humans of Earth shall be brought under our rule or crushed for their stubborn independence." A roar filled the hall. Some slammed their claws against tables, others lifted their wings, others beat their tails on the floor in rhythm. Their pride was heavy in the air. "They are young," one lizard-like general sneered. "Their fleets are small, their colonies weak. They are nothing compared to us. A single strike will bring them to their knees." "They are not united," added a delegate with crystal skin. "Their nations fight each other more than they resist outsiders. They will break the moment we show strength." The voices carried the same tune. Humans were weak. Humans were foolish. Humans were prey, but not all shared the laughter. From the shadows at the far end of the chamber, an old counselor stood. His robe was dark, his face lined with age. When he spoke, his voice was soft but carried with strange weight. "You are making a mistake," he warned. "Earth is not what you believe. Do not provoke them." The hall grew quiet for a moment. All eyes turned toward him. Then, as if on signal, the laughter returned, louder than before. "Old fool," one shouted. "You let myths scare you. Do not speak of legends here," another mocked. "This is the council, not a child's story circle." But the old one did not sit down. His eyes glowed faintly as he looked across the room. "I have seen what humans can do when cornered. They are different. Their fire does not die when crushed. It grows." The words unsettled some. A few younger delegates shifted in their seats. But the speaker leaned forward, his crest trembling with anger. "You speak as if these primitives are equal to us," he said sharply. "Tell me, where is their empire? Where is their grand fleet? Where are their 1,000 colonies? They crawl on one world and a few rocks in space. They are nothing." The old counselor shook his head slowly. "And yet nothing has stopped them from reaching the stars in less than 3 centuries. They adapt faster than any of us. Their strength is not in numbers or weapons. It is in spirit. They do not yield. If you strike them, they will strike back harder than you imagine." For a moment, silence touched the hall again. But pride is louder than wisdom. A tall warrior with burning red eyes stood, his armor glowing. "Enough of this fear. We are the Empire. We are the Council. We do not tremble before a dirt-born species. We will conquer them as we conquered many before." The hall erupted in thunderous cheers. The speaker raised his hand again. "Then let us vote," he declared. "Invasion or restraint." One by one, lights above each seat turned bright red. Invasion. Few lights glowed blue for restraint, and even fewer stayed dim. The count was overwhelming. The speaker's crest flared with pride. "It is decided. We shall prepare the fleets. Earth will fall and their people will serve the council." The roar shook the chamber walls. But in the middle of that roar, the old counselor whispered only to himself, "You will regret this." The speaker ignored him. The generals ignored him. But a shadow fell across the chamber, a shadow no one could name. For the first time in years, a decision was made not from fear, but from arrogance. The vote had been cast. The path was chosen. The countdown to war had begun. And far away on the blue and green planet the council mocked, Earth was silent. Too silent, silence that waits, silence that warns, silence that hides something no alien in that chamber understood. Yet the first strike. The alien fleets moved like storms across the black sea of space. Thousands of warships stretched in formation, each vessel glowing with weapons ready to burn worlds. This was the might of the Galactic Council, the proud armada that had crushed dozens of species before. Now their path pointed toward a small blue planet, Earth. In the command deck of the lead dreadnought, General Zaro stood tall. His crimson armor reflected the light of the stars, and his 4 eyes burned with cruel pride. Around him, officers cheered as the fleet entered human territory. "Scouts forward," Zaros commanded. "Let us remind the humans they are nothing." Swift ships raced ahead, slipping into Earth's outer patrol zones. They expected silence or perhaps weak resistance. Instead, their signals soon crackled with strange static. One officer frowned at his console. "General," he said, "the scout signals are breaking." "I cannot." The message ended with a scream. Then silence. One by one, more scout signals vanished. No distress calls, no clear enemy fire. Only silence, deep and heavy like ships swallowed by shadows. The officers glanced at each other nervously. But Zaros only laughed. "Human tricks. Old satellites. Let the weak die." "We march forward!" The fleet pressed on. Hours passed and Earth came into view, a glowing blue world wrapped in white clouds. To the aliens, it looked fragile, soft, almost harmless. The younger officers whispered to each other, mocking it. "Is this the world they feared?" one asked. "A world of water and dirt," another replied. "We will finish this in a single day." Orders rang out. "Begin orbital bombardment preparations. We will strike their defenses before they can react." But there was no reaction. Earth did not fire. No ships rose from orbit. No fleets came to defend. The planet lay still like a lamb awaiting slaughter. The silence grew heavy. "Why do they not answer?" one officer muttered. "Perhaps they beg for mercy," another sneered. Zaros lifted his claw and slammed it against the command table. "They cower. Humans are cowards. Let the fire fall upon them." Across the armada, weapons charged. Energy cannons glowed, missiles locked targets, and massive beams prepared to rain destruction. But then, something moved. From the far edge of the system, a shape appeared. At first it was faint, a shadow against the stars. The sensors blinked uncertainly. Data could not explain it. "It is only one ship," said an officer, confused. "Human in origin, but different." The shadow grew larger, closer. Its hull was dark as night, absorbing light instead of reflecting it. Lines of faint blue fire ran across its surface, pulsing like veins. It was not large compared to the alien dreadnoughts, but it carried weight, a presence that froze the room. Zaros narrowed his eyes. "One ship? Against us?" "Destroy it." The fleet locked on. Hundreds of weapons fired. Streams of energy, missiles, plasma bolts. Thunder filled the void. The shadow ship should have been torn apart, but the fire vanished. Weapons that hit its hull simply melted into sparks. Missiles turned into dust before contact. Beams bent away as though the ship refused to be touched. The alien officers gasped. "What is this?" someone cried. The ship did not answer with weapons. Instead, a voice filled every channel, every ship, every mind in the fleet. A human voice, calm, cold, steady. "You should not have come." The words struck deeper than any blast. Silence followed. Thousands of officers sat frozen, unable to reply. The shadow ship moved forward, slow, deliberate. Its hull shimmered like living metal. Sensors screamed errors as if the machines themselves were afraid to look at it. For the first time, doubt touched the alien commanders. Some whispered that it was not a ship at all, but a beast born of war. Others said it was a myth made real. Zaros growled, trying to hide his fear. "Fire again! Everything you have." But even as the order echoed, the shadow ship's surface began to glow brighter. Its lines pulsed with power unknown, power that seemed older than the stars themselves. It was not attacking yet. It was waiting, and that waiting was worse than any strike. On Earth, humans watched quietly. Their planet had stayed silent, not out of fear, but out of certainty. They knew what was coming. The aliens had launched their first strike, but in truth, they had already lost. The shadow ship was awake. Earth silence. The alien fleet held its position in orbit, weapons hot and ready, but the mysterious human warship did not move to strike. Instead, it drifted forward, quiet, steady, its dark hull glowing with faint blue light that pulsed like a heartbeat. Inside the lead dreadnought, General Zaros clenched his claws against the command table. He had led many wars before, but never had silence felt so heavy, so sharp like a blade pressed against his throat. "Why do they not attack?" one officer whispered. "They are trying to frighten us," Zaros growled. "And you are letting it work. Ready the bombardment. Earth will burn." Yet his words lacked the strength they once carried. The officers obeyed, but their eyes kept shifting back to the shadow ship. It was too calm, too still, as if it knew something they did not. Down below, Earth spun peacefully. The blue oceans glistened, white clouds drifted, and the green continent stretched wide. It looked defenseless. No fleets rose to challenge the armada. No hidden weapons fired from orbit. No human voices cried for mercy across the channels. Only silence. It was the kind of silence that did not beg. It waited. The youngest officer on Zaros's bridge swallowed hard. "General, what if this ship is only the beginning?" Zaros turned on him with fury. "Are you a soldier or a frightened hatchling?" "We have 10,000 ships." "They have one." But the officer did not meet his eyes. His gaze stayed locked on the human warship. Meanwhile, across the Council's war channels, commanders of other fleets spoke nervously. "We cannot scan it," one said. "Its systems block all readings." "My weapons pass through it," another complained. "It is like firing at smoke." Some voices even trembled. "What if it is not a ship at all?" The arguments rose, but the humans gave no answer. No warning, no demand. The silence stretched longer, heavier, pressing on alien hearts like invisible weight. Back at the Galactic Council chamber, far away, leaders gathered to hear updates. Their pride was still high, though cracks had begun to show. "Why are the humans not responding?" asked one elder. "Perhaps they are paralyzed with fear," a general replied. But the old counselor, the one who had warned them before, shook his head. "No, this is not fear. This is silence with purpose. They are waiting for us to take the next step." Many scoffed, but his words lingered in the air like poison. Back at the fleet, General Zaros made his decision. He would not let silence rule. He would break it. "All fleets," he ordered, "prepare orbital bombardment. Target their military bases first, then their cities. If humans wish to hide behind silence, we will answer with fire." His words echoed across the comms. Ships shifted into attack position, weapons glowing brighter. But then, something strange happened. The human warship turned, ever so slightly, not toward the fleet but toward Earth. Its bow angled down as if it too looked at the planet below. The faint blue glow along its hull pulsed faster, stronger, like it was waking. A voice, calm and quiet, entered the alien channels again. "You still do not understand." Every officer froze. The voice was human, firm but not angry. It carried patience, and beneath that patience something terrifying. Certainty. "You believe silence is weakness," the voice continued, "but silence is choice, and we have chosen to let you speak first." The bridge of the dreadnought went cold. No one moved. Even General Zaros's 4 eyes twitched with unease. Who are you?" Zaros demanded into the comms. The voice did not answer his question. Instead, it spoke 5 words. "You should not be here." The silence returned, thicker than before. For the first time in centuries, the great galactic armada hesitated. Weapons charged, soldiers ready, but courage wavered. The silence was no longer emptiness, it was a warning, sharper than any blade, heavier than any cannon. Far below on Earth, billions of humans went about their lives. Children played, factories worked, ships moved in orbit. None of them seemed aware that an armada of aliens hovered above. Or perhaps they knew, and trusted something greater to protect them. General Zaros slammed his claw down again. "They bluff! They delay! Fire at once!" But deep inside, a shadow of doubt coiled around his heart. If the humans were bluffing, why did their silence feel so alive? And why did one single warship stand without fear before 10,000? The silence of Earth was not weakness. It was the silence of a predator, patient and sure, waiting for its prey to make the wrong move. The shadow warship, the alien fleet, hung over Earth like a black storm. Thousands of ships glowed with firepower, but none dared fire. The silence of Earth pressed on them, heavy and strange. And then the silence broke, not with noise, not with explosions, but with movement. The human warship that had drifted calmly among the stars began to shift. Its hull, black as midnight, shimmered with faint blue light, alive and pulsing. Panels along its surface unfolded like wings, revealing layers of hidden metal. To alien eyes, it looked less like a machine and more like a living thing stretching awake after a long sleep. On the dreadnought's command deck, General Zaros froze. His officers whispered in fear. "It changes form." One muttered. "No, it evolves," said another. Their scanners spat errors. Their weapons showed no locks. Their computers refused to understand what they saw. The ship had no known signature. No species in the database matched its design. It was as though it had been built by no one, as though it had always been here waiting. The younger officers whispered the word none of them wanted to say. Titan. Legends told of war machines that Earth had hidden, projects abandoned, weapons too powerful to control. But those were myths, stories told to scare, or so they thought. The shadow warship turned slowly, deliberately. Its bow faced the alien fleet, its hull glowing brighter with every heartbeat of light. And then, it spoke again. A human voice, cold and steady, filled every ship. "You should have listened." The words cut deep. Not shouted, not angry, just certain. And certainty was more terrifying than rage. Zaros roared to cover his fear. "All ships, attack! Tear it apart." The command shot across the armada. Thousands of weapons lit the void, blazing toward the human ship. Missiles, plasma cannons, beams of pure destruction. Enough firepower to shatter a moon. The void lit up. The shadow ship disappeared inside the storm of fire. Alien soldiers cheered. Officers breathed out relief. Zaros spread his claws in triumph, but their triumph lasted only seconds. The fire cleared, and the shadow warship still floated there, untouched. Not a single scar marked its hull. The blue lines along its body pulsed brighter, faster, alive with energy. The alien cheers died. The officers stared, their mouths dry, their hearts shaking. One officer whispered, That is impossible." The ship answered not with words, but with action. Light gathered at its core. The faint blue glow turned into a storm of white fire, brighter than suns. It pulsed once, twice, then released. The beam cut through space like a blade. Whole cruisers vanished in a single strike, torn apart as if made of paper. Shields cracked like glass, armor melted into nothing. Thousands of lives ended in a flash. The warship's voice spoke again, calm, patient, merciless. "Leave, or burn." The fleet fell silent. No one dared move. On Zaros's bridge, chaos erupted. Officers screamed, alarms howled, systems failed. Zaros roared orders, but none listened. Fear had broken them. "This cannot be one ship." An officer cried, "No weapon does this. No empire has this." But in the back of his mind, Zaros remembered the old counselor's warning. They are not what you think. The council back on the capital world received reports almost instantly. Leaders who had laughed only hours ago now sat pale and shaking. The chamber filled with noise, fear, denial, disbelief. It cannot be real. It must be a trick. No. No fleet survived such power. Only the old counselor remained calm. He spoke quietly, but his words cut deeper than all the rest. "You wanted to see Earth's strength. Now you will." Back in orbit, the shadow warship did not chase. It did not rush. It moved slowly, purposefully, as though every second was a choice. Alien ships scrambled to retreat, but the warship ignored those who fled. Its gaze stayed on those who remained, frozen by fear. The message was clear. Earth did not seek destruction, but it would not allow invaders to walk away unpunished. General Zaros fell into his command chair, his pride shattered. His voice broke as he whispered, "What? What are these humans?" No one answered him, because everyone already knew. This was no ordinary war. This was the rise of Earth, and the shadow warship was only the beginning. The first blow. The void was still glowing from the beam that had ripped through the alien fleet. Fragments of shattered cruisers drifted like sparks across the blackness of space. Smoke and broken hulls spun slowly, silent but heavy with meaning. The alien armada, once so proud, was no longer shouting. No cheers, no laughter. Only silence and fear. On the command deck of the dreadnought, General Zaros gripped the edge of his chair so tightly his claws cracked the metal. His four eyes stared at the human warship, still untouched, still glowing faint blue. "This is not possible," he whispered. But the warship did not wait for his disbelief to settle. The lines along its hull flared brighter and the silence broke again, this time with thunder. The ship moved. Not slow, not heavy, but fast. Faster than any alien ship of its size had a right to move. It blurred across the stars like a predator among sheep. In an instant, it was inside their formation. Alien officers screamed as their sensors failed to track it. Every time they locked on, the warship was already gone, moving like it bent space itself. Then it struck. From its sides, weapons unfolded, barrels that glowed white, wings that split apart, and something no alien mind could understand, streams of light that curved, twisted, and hunted. Beams shot out, weaving between friendly ships, ignoring decoys, slicing through armor with surgical precision. Cruisers broke apart in silence. Battleships melted into fire. Dreadnoughts cracked open like eggshells. One officer on Zaros's bridge dropped to his knees. "It does not fight like us, it thinks." The human warship didn't just fire blindly. Every shot was deliberate, planned, calculated. It knew where to strike. Engines, bridges, weak points. It destroyed with purpose, not waste. Within minutes, hundreds of alien vessels were gone. The mighty fleet that once darkened the stars now looked scattered, broken. General Zaros roared, forcing courage back into his voice. Surround it. Box it in. But no box could hold it. The ship slid between their formations like water flowing through fingers. Their weapons fired in every direction, but the warship moved with terrifying grace, dodging, bending, deflecting. Then the voice returned. Calm. Steady. Human. This is your warning. Leave now. The next strike will end you. The alien bridges went silent. Commanders froze. Soldiers stared at their screens. Even Zaros felt his chest tighten. But pride is a poison, and it still burned in him. He slammed his claw against the console. Do not listen. Fire everything. Overwhelm it. His fleet obeyed. Thousands of cannons lit the void again. Missiles streaked like rain. Plasma beams roared across the darkness. And then, the warship's hull split open. From its core rose a storm of energy, bright enough to blind the sensors, strong enough to bend the void. A sphere of white-blue fire expanded outward, swallowing the incoming weapons. Missiles dissolved into dust. Beams shattered into sparks. The entire alien barrage simply vanished. For one breath, silence returned. Then the warship released the energy. It came as a wave, silent, beautiful, unstoppable. Ships caught in its path crumbled instantly, turning into drifting ash. Armor meant to withstand suns was torn apart like paper. In seconds, thousands of ships were gone. The armada screamed. Officers begged for retreat. Soldiers threw down their weapons. Back at the Galactic Council chamber, reports came in like thunder. The leaders who had once laughed now sat pale, trembling, speechless. Pride collapsed into fear. One delegate cried, "This cannot be real. How can one world do this?" The old counselor who had warned them stood slowly. His eyes burned with truth. "I told you, humans are not what you think. You saw weakness, but they hid strength. You saw silence, but they carried fire. And now you will see what fire means. On the battlefield, the alien fleet broke. Commanders shouted retreat. Ships fled in every direction, desperate to escape the predator in their midst. But the warship did not chase. It hovered calmly, its blue light still pulsing, its weapons folding back into silence. The message was clear. The humans had struck once to prove their power. That was enough. General Zaros slumped in his chair, his pride shattered into dust. Around him, his officers sat pale, silent, broken. For the first time in his life, Zaros understood fear not of death, but of survival. For those who survived would have to carry the memory of what they had seen. A single human warship, facing a galactic armada, and winning. The first blow had been struck, and the galaxy would never forget it. Fear in the Council, the Galactic Council chamber, once a hall of arrogance and pride, now trembled with panic. Reports flashed across glowing screens, each worse than the last. Thousands of ships destroyed. Whole fleets scattered. A single human warship standing untouched, still orbiting Earth like a silent judge watching from above. The voices of the delegates overlapped in chaos. Some shouted for immediate retreat. Others demanded more reinforcements. A few refused to believe the reports at all. "This is a lie," one delegate screamed, his crystal body glowing red with anger. "It is human trickery. They show us illusions to frighten us." But another counselor, his scales pale with fear, shook his head. "No trick destroys 10,000 ships. No illusion kills real crews. The losses are real." The chamber shook with noise, but the speaker slammed his claw against the central table. The sound echoed through the hall, forcing silence. His silver crest flickered weakly under the lights. "Calm yourselves," the speaker demanded, though even his voice trembled. "We are the Council. We will not bow to one ship. We must plan our next move." Yet no one had answers. The Empire's strength had always been in numbers, in overwhelming force. But numbers had failed. Strength had failed. Pride had failed. In the corner, the old counselor who had warned them sat in silence. His eyes, shadowed and weary, looked over the hall. Finally, he rose to his feet. "You speak of plans," he said softly, "but the truth is already before you. You voted for war. You brought your fleets. And you saw what came of it. Earth is not weak. Humanity is not prey. They are something you do not understand." The chamber grew still. His words carried weight, heavy and sharp. The speaker hissed in anger. "You speak as though they are gods." The old one shook his head. "Not gods. Worse for you, humans are mortals who refuse to yield. They fight until nothing is left, and even then they rise again." "I told you this, but you laughed." "Now you see?" A delegate from a warrior race slammed his fist down. "Then we must answer with greater force. Send the entire armada. Burn Earth to ash." But another voice shouted back, trembling. "And if the humans have more of these ships, what if that was only one of many? Do you wish to see our empire broken forever?" The argument rose again, louder, more desperate. Words turned to screams. Old alliances shattered into insults. Fear had cracked their unity. The speaker tried to hold control, but fear is stronger than authority. Delegates left their seats shouting over each other. Some called for surrender, others for peace, others for genocide. The once proud council looked less like rulers of the galaxy, and more like frightened children in a burning house. In the chaos, one young counselor asked the question no one wanted to voice. What if Earth does not stop with defense? What if they come for us next? The chamber went silent. That thought, the humans moving outward, bringing their shadow ships into alien skies, sent terror through every heart. The speaker's crest dimmed as his pride collapsed into dread. He sank into his chair, his claws trembling. "If they strike first, then everything we built will end." The old counselor stepped forward, his voice quiet but firm. "And whose fault will that be? You brought war to their home. You forced them to rise. Do not ask what they will do next. Ask why you ever thought they would kneel." His words stung deeper than any wound. Many turned their eyes away, unable to face him. Across the chamber, some whispered of negotiation. Others whispered of surrender. A few, still drunk on pride, muttered of secret weapons and desperate plans. But none dared speak of victory. Victory was gone. The council chamber, once filled with roaring laughter and arrogance, now echoed with fear. For the first time in centuries, the rulers of the galaxy realized they were not untouchable. Back in orbit, Earth remained silent. The shadow warship did not advance, did not invade, did not speak again. It simply waited, as though watching to see what choice the aliens would make. And that silence was worse than any weapon, because it forced the council to face the truth. They had poked a sleeping beast, and the beast had only begun to wake. Earth's warning. The wreckage of the alien armada drifted in silence above Earth. Fragments of shattered dreadnoughts floated like broken bones in the dark. Fires glowed faintly, then died into cold ash. Out of 10,000 ships, only a scattering of survivors limped away, engines damaged, pride destroyed. And in the middle of the silence, the human warship remained. It hovered calmly, its black hull shining with faint blue light, alive and steady. It did not chase the fleeing ships. It did not fire again. It simply stood guard above Earth like a watchful shadow no enemy could touch. Inside alien vessels, survivors trembled. Officers whispered, afraid to speak too loudly, as if the human ship might hear and strike. Some begged their commanders to retreat, to run as far as possible from this cursed planet. Others sat frozen, unable to look away from the nightmare that had destroyed their brothers. Then, across every channel, every frequency, every screen, the silence broke. A human face appeared, not monstrous, not divine, just a man ordinary in form, but his eyes burned with calm fire. His voice was strong, steady, and carried across the galaxy like thunder. "People of the Council, you came to Earth seeking conquest. You sent fleets to break us. You laughed at our warnings. And now you have seen the result." The chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent. Every delegate stared at the broadcast, unable to look away. Even the speaker, his silver crest dimmed with fear, sat frozen. The man continued, "Earth does not seek war. We did not build empires of conquest. We did not enslave your people or take your worlds. We asked only to live in peace. But when you brought war to our skies, we answered. And we will always answer." The voice deepened, sharp as steel. "Know this truth, humanity does not kneel. Not to empires, not to threats, not to fear. If you come again, if you bring your fleets and your arrogance, you will not survive it. We will not chase you. We will not invade your worlds. But if you enter ours again, there will be nothing left of you." The words echoed like a blade cutting through the chamber of the council. Many delegates bowed their heads. Some trembled, others whispered prayers. The arrogance that had filled the hall only days ago was gone, crushed under the weight of those words. The broadcast ended, and the screen went dark. The human warship powered down its glowing lines and drifted back into silence, watching. The council chamber erupted, not in laughter, not in cheers, but in fear. Delegates argued again, but their voices shook. Some called for surrender, some demanded immediate peace treaties. A few still clung to pride, but their voices were small, drowned by panic. In the corner, the old counselor closed his eyes. His warnings had been ignored, but now reality had spoken louder than him. He whispered only one sentence. The galaxy has changed forever. Back in orbit, General Zero sat in his ruined dreadnought. His armor cracked, his pride broken, his fleet gone. He had seen the human warship with his own eyes, and he knew no empire, no council, no army could erase that memory. He had gone to conquer. He had left with fear carved into his soul. For centuries, the council had ruled the galaxy with pride, believing themselves untouchable. But now they would carry scars not from numbers, but from one world, one people, one ship that stood against them and did not fall. The first invasion of Earth had ended, not with conquest but with warning, a warning so powerful it would echo through history. Do not bring war to humanity, for humanity does not forgive. Humanity does not bow, humanity endures. And so the galaxy whispered a new name with fear and awe: Earth, the planet no one would dare touch again.